See if we can get this going. Hey y'all, happy Tuesday.
Hi,
Hi,
how are you?
hello.
How are
How are
you?
you?
I'm doing well.
You're doing well. You look well. It's a little bit dark, but I
Is
can still see you.
it too dark?
Not too dark. I can still see your cute face and your
Okay.
nice hair. I said it's a
Don't
little
forget,
bit dark, but that's
create
see,
the ambiance. I'll flip on the light. Let's
I
see.
have this ring
Is
thing,
that
right?
better?
Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. Much better. Hey girl, how are you?
Hi, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm doing great. You look amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So I'm excited. I'm excited
Whew.
and I'm very grateful for you because every time a woman does this, it shows strength, courage,
Yes.
wisdom. There's a song, Strength, Courage, and
Yes.
Wisdom. It demonstrates that in a mighty way. And I'm telling you, Antoinette, do people call you anything else? Because I don't want to be on here calling you Antoinette if everybody calls you Tony or Net
Tony
or
or Antoinette is fine.
okay.
I love Tony, so anything that I do, like business wise, I always go by Tony Marie.
Oh, Tony Marie. Okay.
Yes.
Well, for the purposes of today in this project, are you Tony Marie or Antoinette?
I like to say I'm Tony Marie because Antoinette is more laid back and quiet, and she probably wouldn't be sharing this story.
Okay, so right now you are Tony Marie.
My alter ego.
Yes. 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 So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate this and I want to get right to it. A lot of times during these lives, at the end, we don't get to talk a lot about the amazing woman that you have become.
Yes.
So let's start out by you introducing yourself formally and let people know where you are in your life today. And then we'll take it back and we'll start at the beginning and bring it
Okay.
back forward.
Okay. So I'm Antoinette, but to everybody else, I'm Tony. Marie is actually my real middle name, so it's what I go by. I am a 36-year-old mother of three, single mom. So I have one daughter and two sons. My daughter is actually 19. I'm heading to Atlanta this weekend to take her to her sophomore year at Spelman. So yay for her. And my two boys are 15 and 8. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. We now live in Laurel, Maryland. I am an HR professional. I am, yes, I've been doing HR my entire career. I work for the federal government. I now work for a, a cybersecurity company, a private sector company, but I have 2 degrees. I've made it through everything that has been thrown at me in life. Many told me that I wouldn't make it because I was a teen mom. I had my daughter when I was 16 years old. I was in the 11th grade, but I knew against all odds that I would make it, and now she has made it. She was at my high school graduation, and to watch her walk across that stage last year was the most amazing thing I could ever witness as a mom. And I'm looking forward to doing that with my boys as well. So I'm here to tell you, no matter what you go through, no matter where you come from, I came from nothing, from the slums of Southeast DC. And here I am making the most money I've ever made in my life. I'm starting to walk in my passion and my dream to impact the lives of everyone around me, not just women. Um, Writing is my passion, so I'm actually writing my first novel. I have a few other businesses that are underway, and then just running across your page and seeing what you're doing has definitely inspired me to share my story, because it's not always easy to share your story. And like I said in the beginning, Antoinette is a person who is very quiet. I normally speak through writing versus talking because I'm very shy at times. Um, but I know that in order for myself to start to heal and to continue my healing, I must be heard. So that is why I'm here today.
Honey, you have just made my heart smile so big. That is what it's all about. And listen, this is our first time meeting, but I want to give you your flowers right now in this moment because
Thank you.
without even going back to everything we're about to get into, people have no idea what you've been through, right?
Exactly.
Just to hear the part that you talked about just now, though, what that did for me on the inside. Honey, you are an amazing 36-year-old mom of three, boss lady, black girl magic, all wrapped up in one. And I just wanted you to
Yes.
know that.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okay.
Thank
Yes.
you. And I don't think that we do it enough. So I'm, like I said, I'm very laid back and I'm very quiet. So I never ask people for help. I never even tell people, very few know what I've been through because I don't want sympathy. I want to be impactful. I want you to see me as a person who has overcame everything that has been set to stop her. I've overcome all of those obstacles, and now I am who I am today because of
Wow. Satan always trying to stop the great one. You know that?
yes, they
If you
always.
didn't, you already know. I tell people all the time, and I'm starting to learn this more and more as I develop spiritually as a woman too. That if you're not someone that God has tagged as somebody really special, that has
Yeah,
some really important business out here of His to do, you don't meet all of that stuff because He don't bother people that's not real special.
exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's what I needed you to know. So without further ado, let's take it back, Antoine. Let's take it back, Tony Marie,
Okay.
to as far back as how you want to go. Like, you know what I mean? Like as far back as when you feel trauma first entered your life.
Okay. So it's funny because I was actually watching like Kevin Hart's series, Heart to Heart, and he always says like a good conversation is always good over wine. So
Yes, where's my
I
wine,
have my
honey? I
wine.
need
Go
some
get you
wine,
some
baby.
wine. Yeah, tell somebody in the background to get you some wine for this conversation.
Yes.
So I will take it as far back as the first encounter of trauma that I can remember. My family is a family that is impacted by generational curses. So it's more so of a lot of people in my family, including my mom, has been molested by other family members or people that have been brought into the family as trusted people in their children's lives. And so I remember it was Easter Sunday. We were at my aunt's house. She lived in an apartment in Northwest DC. I was probably like 8, maybe. So it was all of the girls, me, my little cousins, one of my friends at the time. We were in my cousin's room, kind of playing hide and go seek. All girls. We were just playing, like going from top bunk to bottom bunk, lights off, just doing what girls do. There was a man who came into the room, and I remember seeing him out in the living room with all of the other adults. So he was my uncle's friend. He came in and I was coming down the top bunk to the bottom bunk. And when I got to that bottom bunk, he grabbed me. I had on like a t-shirt and maybe some shorts or pants. I can't remember. But I had changed out of my Easter attire. And so he lifted up my shirt and he touched my chest. I'm 8, so I don't have breasts yet or anything. And he's like, "Do you know what these are?" And I'm like, "Yes." And he's like, "Went to suck on them." And I didn't know what to do. Like, I panicked, I closed my eyes. And once he let me go, I ran out of the room and I told my friend, I was like, "Come with me to the bathroom." And she went with me to the bathroom and I was crying, I was hysterical. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And I'm like, "That man who came into the room, like, he touched me." And she was like, "Let's go tell somebody." And I'm like, "I don't think nobody's going to believe me." And I don't know why at that young age that I felt that, but I felt that. And so we later on kind of went into the living room. She got everyone's attention, told them what had happened. My family reacted. They went into the room. They got him. They beat him up. The police were called. But while we were in the bathroom, like contemplating, deciding on what to do, he was actually raping my little cousin. And I felt like that was my fault because I should have acted or reacted faster than what I did. So that took a toll on me. And I didn't know how to deal with that at the young age that I was. And it made me kind of shut down as a person, as a child. It kind of took away my, children have innocence. It took that
Innocent.
away from me. It took that away from me. It took all of that away. And let's fast forward a couple years. It started to happen with my cousin. And to this day, I cannot look him in his eyes because it's horrific to me. But now that I'm older, I'm like, what if someone did that to him so he felt like he had to do it to me? Or maybe he thought that that was right. And
Ooh.
so he started doing it to me. And because I was so scared, because I'm only 5 feet tall, I'm bigger now as an adult, but back then, a little small girl, probably wearing 50, 70 pounds at the most. I was so small, so fragile, and he took advantage of that. And it became this ongoing thing. And we got to a place where it was happening so frequently that it just became normal. I knew anytime we were in each other's presence that it would happen. And so we got to a point where we were at my aunt's house and he was on top of me. And one of her friends, which was an adult, she woke up and she saw it happening. And I had like a breath of fresh air, like somebody caught him. Like, this is going to change. It's going to stop. And it didn't. We went into a room, me, that adult woman, and two of my aunts, one of which is his mother. And we talked about it. And it was like, it's going to be okay. Like, don't worry about it. No one ever told my mother back then. And I didn't get the courage to tell her until I was older. But nobody said anything.
And
And at,
so, like, what was he saying? How much older was he than you?
he is either 1 or 2 years older than me. I don't even know. Like, I really
Was he
met.
denying it? Was he saying like, no, she, she
So
lying?
he wasn't in the room with us.
Okay, he was okay.
It was just all the females,
The
me,
women.
my two aunts, and the woman who caught him doing it.
Okay.
And I think she was just as stunned as I was, because she's like, what do you, like, I'm telling you guys what I saw. Like, him covering her mouth and forcing himself on top of her. This is not right. Like, they're cousins. Like, this should not be happening. And at that moment, I was like, I never want to talk again. Like, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to be like, I just don't want to talk. And so my mother noticed it. Like, I completely shut down as a kid. Like, I stopped talking. It took away my fire. It took away everything that I was about, and everything that I'm about now that I've grown back into. But it took all of that away from me. And it got so bad that I wouldn't even talk to my parents. If I wanted something, I would write them a note and sit it on their pillow. And my mother would be like, Antionette, like, why can't you, why you feel like you can't talk to us? And I was just like, I'm scared. And she was like, you're scared of what? And I just couldn't tell her. Like, I knew she had been molested by her brothers. I knew that this was something that happened in our family all too often.
Right.
And I was
It's
just like,
normal.
it's normal, because
The
nobody says
dysfunction.
anything. Yeah, the dysfunction is normal. Like, nobody says anything, nobody does anything. Like, it's just a continued pattern.
Wow.
And so that was early on. I think I was like 11 maybe. And so it changed my perspective of how women and men should interact. I became very, like, when other people started to lose their virginity and things like that, I was like, absolutely not. Like, I don't want to do it. And then I got to a point where I was like, okay, I'll try it. And I tried it and I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, is this because of what has happened to me in the past that I feel like I don't really want to engage in sexual activities with anyone? And it was hard. Like, those were the first two instances of just molestation or sexual abuse that I experienced. It wasn't the last at all. And so we can fast forward some. Like, I got older. I met my children's father. We started dating at like 14. We had our first child at 16. And so when I was pregnant with her, and I know she's watching, and this may be hard for her to hear, but I was pregnant with her, and it was a guy that I knew. He was, and we all knew, and he was someone that I kind of fooled around with before my children's father.
Right.
And I was pregnant, and my best friend, she's watching as well. We were all outside one day, and they were like, I wanted to go to 7-Eleven or something, and they were like, oh, like, ride with him, he'll take you. So I rode with him. He was driving like one of those mopeds. I'm on the back. I'm pregnant, not very pregnant, but pregnant. Right. And he knew that I was pregnant, and he stopped and like pulled over and went into like this parking lot, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's just like, I miss you. Like, I want to have you. And I'm just like, no, like, I'm pregnant. I'm in a relationship. And he proceeded to just do it. And I kept saying stop. I started crying, but I knew I couldn't fight back because of how small I was and how big he was. And it was just like, I don't want to be beat up. I don't want to be. And all I could think about was her. I didn't know if it was a girl or boy at the time, but all I could do was hold my stomach and think about my unborn child, and was just like, let him do whatever it is he's going to do. And I just cried and I kept saying stop. And finally he stopped and he was like, I'm sorry. And things went on. And we got back. I told my best friend, she was probably one of the only people who knew what had happened. And me being the person that I am, I'm a Cancer. That's my sign, and I'm very
Me
much.
too. I knew you would. Let me tell you something. I was trying to keep it professional in the beginning when you was talking, but it's something in my spirit when you said I'm 36, I'm mama 3, and you talked about stuff. I was just like, I feel in my see, she is me. I really felt that. I'm telling you, I did. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm a Cancer, so I'm very much an empath. And all I could think about was his kids and things like that. And it's like I just shut down even more. And he started calling me and was like, you felt like I raped you? And I was like, yeah. Like, what do you call it? I
I
said
say
no.
no.
I cried. And he was like, I just thought you were saying no because of Andre, which is my children's father. I just thought you
Right.
were saying no because of that. And I was like, it doesn't matter why I said no.
Doesn't matter
I
what.
said no. And he was like, and no one knows about this conversation. He was like, are you going to call the police? Like, do you want me to turn myself in? And I was like, no, I just want you to leave me alone. I just want you to cut all ties. So even when we see each other, because we have still seen each other after that, it's like I clam up, but I also know where I am in life, that I have to forgive people so that I can move on and I can heal. You know what you did to me, and let that forever eat you alive, but I won't let it eat me alive.
Right.
And it took me a while to get to that place because I'm a person who, you're a Cancer, so you know, I go in my room, I cry, I let nobody see those tears. I get into my crab shell and I deal with it on my own. And it's not healthy at all because you sit there and you just cry and you cry. And I was thinking about this interview last night and I was thinking about everything I was going to say and I started crying. And I was like, yeah, you better not cry when you get on this Instagram live. But it was hard, like for someone that you know to just take advantage of something that you've actually given them before is
Right. To just take it.
crazy. And I was pregnant with my child, my first child, and all I could think about was protecting that person because I knew that he or she at the time, because I didn't know the sex, was going to be great, was going to be awesome. So I had to protect that baby by all means. Um, and then it just kind of, with their dad, that's where kind of the domestic violence, the physical, mental, and emotional abuse started. Um, we ended up moving in together. Wow, our senior year of high school. So our daughter, she was born. She was almost she was a year old by the time we graduated from high school. So we were living together, and I guess just the tolls of living together at a young age, having a child at a young age, just kind of took its toll. But I also think now that we're older, I think his disdain for his mom and just their relationship is why he hates women so much. Because I'm not the only woman that he's ever abused. It continued after me, but in that moment, it became horrible. And he was a person who was my best friend. He was my first like love, my first everything. And so
Yeah.
I didn't understand it at first. I wanted to help him. I wanted to help him get through it. I wanted to say,
Listen
hey,
at Terry. I mean, Tony.
we don't have to do this. Like, you can be better than this. Like, we don't have to do this. We can get through it. And it just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And I can talk about like a few times where it was really, really bad. Like our first encounter ever, we were in his room. His mom came in to kind of break up the argument. He had pushed me. I fell on the floor. She had like picked up the cordless phone and was like, I'm calling the police. And he's like, I'm not going to allow you to do that. And he snatched the phone from her and threw it, and it hit me in my eye. And I still have a bruise in my eyebrow that I use makeup to cover that will never grow back. And I walked around with black eyes. And at this time, we're teenagers, and people are looking at me like, does he beat on her? Like, why does she have black eyes? Like, they're 17.
Now,
Like,
real quick, let me ask you, because when I hear stories like this, I always wonder, do you have any older brothers, or was your father active in your life?
so my parents have been together my entire life. They're still together, and I
Uh-huh.
have two older brothers.
Did they
Um,
know?
no, I hid everything from everybody. Like, I protected him. It
Yeah.
wasn't probably until I made a post a couple years ago during Domestic Violence Month, and I kind of detailed a few things. And my brother's like, "What the fuck?" Sorry, can I curse?
Right. Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, "Where
Right.
was I?" And like, he's the brother, he's the sibling that's closest to me in age, and he's like, "Where was I while all of this was going on? Like, why didn't you tell me?"
Right.
And yeah, my parents have been together. I'm 36. My parents have been together for like 38, 39 years.
Wow.
And they're married, they're still together, everything. So I know what a healthy relationship should be. I know how a man should treat a woman. And I think that I've been longing for it for so long that I was willing to accept it any way that I can, any way that it came. So he was beating me. He was mentally and emotionally and verbally abusing me, but he also bought me anything I wanted. He took care of me. He did all of that.
Mm-hmm.
It was like, oh, here's this black eye, but here's this Michael Kors bag, or here's this black eye, but here's these diamond earrings.
And so you being such a young woman at that time, not probably being strong enough to pull away because you were getting just enough goodness. You know what I mean? And you
Yep,
probably, you know how we are. When I say we, us cancer women, it's like we have this thing where we feel obligated to love a person and love them right. Like, well, I'm going to love him enough that it'll make him better, or it'll make
yep,
him different.
yep,
It'll make him more like me. I'm going to show him this is how you're supposed to love. I'm going to just keep, you know what I mean?
yep.
And
And the
so
crazy
it's
thing
hard
is,
to pull away from that.
he's a cancer too. So
Ah!
it made it like way
Two
harder.
crazy people. Because
Yeah,
we
so
can be
it made
crazy
it like
sometimes, okay? I'm just admitting it. We can be a
we
little
can be,
crazy.
yes, we can do a little crazy stuff sometimes.
Mhm.
But I feel like when you're an involved cancer, you do those things because you're trying to help someone. It's not like I'm gonna be crazy and
Right.
I'm just
Exactly.
gonna.
There's a reason
There's a reason,
why we do the crazy. I
but
agree.
he did his, and it was like, yeah, I'm crazy, and I'm gonna do all of this to you, but I'm gonna be romantic, and I'm gonna take you out. I'm gonna spoil you. I'm gonna do whatever. And we weren't. My family was very much so poor. Like I
Mhm.
told you, I grew up in the hood, Southeast DC, in the hood, walking over dead bodies and crackheads in the hallway. So it was like, okay, I get a black eye, but then I get something I actually want. Or, and at the time, being 17, 18 years old, it's like, okay, I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to do it. And it just kept getting worse. It didn't get better. Like, it would calm down for a moment, but then it would get way worse. And I just kept telling myself, he's not gonna be like this forever. Like, it's gonna get better. All I want is for my family to be together. And at that time, it was just me, him, and
Girl.
her. But then we eventually had another child. So it's four of us now. And it's like, all I want is for us to, like, my parents, this is what my parents have set for me and my siblings, like, to be with
Yeah.
your family, to take care of your
No
family.
matter
My
what, you
dad,
be together.
yeah, my dad is very much a provider and a protector. And this is what I want from him. And I want my children to see that their parents have stuck it out and made a relationship and built a family. And so I think the infidelity started, like, he ended up, I was pregnant with my son. So by this time I'm like 20, 21, pregnant with my son. my oldest son, and he took a girl to prom, which was crazy. I'm like, we're 21. What are you doing with some 18-year-old little girl? And I found out about that. My cousin actually was at her god sister's house or something and saw a picture. It's crazy how small the world is.
Yes, it is.
But she saw a picture and was like, called me and was like, you know, he went to the prom with somebody. And I'm like, no. And she pulled up to my job, gave me the picture, and I showed it to him. And he was like, oh, that's my mother's friend. Like, she just needed somebody to take her to the prom. And then it started with like all the females calling me, like females saying that they're pregnant, all
God, girl.
types of stuff. And it just he started dealing with a girl that like worked at our daughter's school. And
What the hell?
it all turned back on me though. It's like, well, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And
Now, and all the while, he's still physically abusing you. So you still getting your ass whooped.
yeah,
I mean,
yes. Oh, you can say that. Yes, I'm still very much so getting my ass whooped, and you're cheating, and I'm pregnant with our second child.
that's too
And
much.
it's like, well, this is your fault because you're not being the woman that you should be or that I need you to be. You're not taking care of what you need to take care of. And I started to doubt myself. Like, am I really some shit? Like, am I really not a good woman? Like, what am I doing that makes him feel like he has to go out here and he has to do this, or that he has to put his hands on me, or we have to fight every day? And it just became a cycle. Like, we would go on vacation. I remember we were going to Deep Creek one year. My family used to always go there for Thanksgiving. And we were on our way there. He works, he drives the bus, I Metro.
I'll put him.
So he works like overnight. And I waited for him to get off of work. We're driving to Deep Creek, and we just get into an argument at the gas station. He's like, I'm driving from here on out. Like, bitch, like, you're not about to be driving. Like, you're drinking. Like, you shouldn't be driving anyway. So I'm like, okay. So he drives, and he proceeds to put me out on the highway. I don't know where we are. I had my Uggs. He threw them out the car. He's like, get out. The kids are in the back screaming. And I think that's the one thing that saved me. That's why he came back, because the kids were crying and screaming. Because if they were in the car, I would have been wherever I was trying to find a ride home with no shoes on or anything in the dead of winter. It's Thanksgiving. And when we get to Deep Creek, my oldest brother is there, his wife, my parents, my sister, and I have a blood clot in one eye. I have broken nails, bruises all over me, and they're just looking at me like, and I'm just looking around like everything is fine.
Right.
Like, hey y'all, we here. How's everybody doing?
You had normalized all of that toxicity. But can I just say, I mean, and I could be wrong, Tony Marie, but I believe based on what you went through as a child, um, that you didn't have a level of, because I've been this girl, I didn't have a level of self-esteem or self-love.
Exactly.
When a man like that, like him, a weak man, not a great man, but a man like that recognizes that a woman doesn't love herself enough to stop him from being abusive in whatever ways that he is abusive, because abuse comes in different forms, as we all know.
Of course.
Then they step on the gas.
Exactly. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Like I said, my fire, my light was taken away at such a young age that I was willing to accept whatever, because I felt like in the end he left me. Like, nobody couldn't tell me he didn't love me. And I was like, my best friend, she was friends with him first. And she would come to me and be like, why are you accepting this? And I would just be like, because he loves me. Like, you can't tell me he don't love me. In my mind, I had come to the conclusion, if he didn't love me, he wouldn't do this. Which is crazy. But that was my rationale. If he didn't love me, if he didn't care for me, he would not put this into
Right. He wouldn't go this crazy on
He
me.
wouldn't go this crazy.
He wouldn't do all of this. He wouldn't be hitting me all these times. So you don't have to go off like this if you don't love me.
Yeah, he would just leave. If he let me, he could just leave. And I think the worst, the worst of the worst happened. It was my birthday. Like I said, we're both Cancer, so our birthdays are 10 days apart. Me and him. His birthday's at the end of June. Mine is July 10th, and so it was my actual birthday. We had rented a party bus to go from here to New Jersey, but it was going to happen the next day. My actual birthday was like a Friday. And so we're in the club. It's me, him, and his brother. We're having fun, drinks. He's telling me, we're never going to do the fighting thing again. Like, I'm over all of that. I'm over all the cheating. Like, we're going to be good. So I'm like, okay. New leaf. Like, we're turning over, a new stone. And I go to the bathroom. So there's two individual bathrooms, one for the women, one for the men. There was a young lady in the women's bathroom. And there was a guy. He had just came out of the guy's bathroom. And he was like, hey, you need to go to the bathroom? Like, I'll keep an eye out so you can go to the bathroom. So I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, I'm that type of girl. Like, oh, thank you so much. Like, just bringing shit. And so I'm holding my phone in my hand. I go to the bathroom, come out. And he's like, hey, like, I think you're pretty and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, thank you, but I'm actually here with somebody. But my phone is in my hand. So from across the room, it could look like we were exchanging numbers or we're in the middle of, talking.
Mm-hmm.
So his brother tells him, like, hey, look over there. Like, she gets somebody's number. And that was like it. Like, we went downstairs and it's like, bitch, like, who you think you playing with? Like, how dare you disrespect me? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh, you don't think I didn't notice? Like, you over there getting somebody's number? And I'm like, I was telling him that I'm here with somebody. Like, I had my phone in my hand because I didn't have anything else with me. I didn't have a purse. I didn't have anything else with me. So all I had was my cell phone. He like yanked me in the car. We're in the car. His brother gets in the back seat. We're arguing. We're on 8th Street, Northeast. I don't know what club we was coming from, but we driving down 8th Street and we pull into like this alley where Horse and Dickies used to be. And he's like, I don't know who you think you playing with. And he like swung his arm. So I hit him back because I'm like, I'm tired. Like, if we gonna fight, we gonna fight. Me and you. Like, and he's like,
What, like square up?
yeah, we gonna square up. But he like 6 feet tall, I'm 5 feet tall. Like,
So, girl, what was you thinking?
it's no squaring up. But I was tired of being hit. So
Right.
I'm like, I'm gonna hit you. Like, I'm gonna hit you back. Like, I ain't no bitch. Like, we gonna
Right.
fight. So I hit him back. That's the last thing I remember. When I woke up, I was in my car by myself, all the doors open, blood all over my dress. I had on a blue dress. I still remember it like it was yesterday. I had Senecalese in my hair. I looked at the seat, like 6 braids were on the seat, blood just everywhere. And I did not have the courage to even look in the mirror. I couldn't. And my phone started ringing. And it was his cousin. And we were in the alley right next to her house. And I answered the phone and she was like, Antionette, I heard everything. And she was like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't know. Like, I just came to. I just woke up. I don't know. I don't even know how long I've been in this alley. And nobody's here. They left me. Him and his brother got out of the car and left. And she was like, if you can, drive around, park, and come into my house. And that's what I did. I knocked on her door. And when she opened the door, her face was like, and I was like, what? And she was like, no. And I was like, let me see. And she was like, absolutely not. Because I am very much so a girl who looks in the mirror and is like, oh, I'm that girl. So she was like, I'm not going to let you look at yourself. She went and got ice, wet towels, and I just saw all the blood that she was washing off of my face. And she was like, how are we supposed to get on this bus tomorrow to Atlantic City with 65 people and you look like this? And I was like, I don't know. I was like, maybe I could just go get my makeup done. You know, I'll come up with something. And she was like, you can't keep coming up with something. And this is his cousin, his blood cousin. She's like, I love you like you are my cousin. Like, we've known you since you were 14 years old. You can't keep coming up with something to protect him. And she was like, I'm not going to let him in my house until he is able to be man enough to sit down with you, apologize, and do something, get some help or something for what he's doing to you. And I went home that night, still didn't look in the mirror. I woke up the next morning, my daughter was touching my face, and she was like, Mommy, what happened to you? And I was like, baby, these girls jumped me in the club last night. And that's the story I gave to everybody. Mm-hmm. I went to Mac. I got my makeup done. We got on that bus. I wore glasses the whole time, but there was this huge bruise I had on my arm. And everybody was looking at me like, we're not stupid. Like, what's going on? Like, we see your interactions with him because he's on the bus too. And I'm just like trying not to interact with him. And they're like, we see the interactions. We see like what happened to you. And I'm just like, what are y'all talking about? Like, these girls beat me up. They was jealous. I'm cute. They're not. And they just beat me up. And they were like, that doesn't make sense. Like, if some girls beat you up, you would have called us. Like, you got a sister. You got cousins. You got everything. You got friends. Like, if some girls beat you up, you would have had everybody on speed dial. Like, get down here now. So what happened? And I still wouldn't tell anybody. But I had 2 black eyes. I had this big old scratch going down the middle of my face. I had a busted lip. Like, it was horrible. And I still went back after that. I still went back. And I kept going back until it became too much. Like, I was in my senior year of college, and I was working at the Department of Labor. And it was a time in my life where I was starting to feel good about myself. I was going to the gym. I was losing my baby weight. I had 2 babies. And I was like, I'm about to graduate from college. Like, nobody in my immediate family had done that. I had been in school for 3 years, and I was about to be graduating with 2 degrees. Like, I was proud of me. And I just couldn't understand why the person I loved was not equally as proud of me. It became, who you trying to look cute for? Why you always going to the gym? Like, don't nobody want you. You got 2 kids. Don't nobody want no washed up ass bitch. Like, don't nobody want her. And I started to be like, what if he's right? What if nobody's gonna ever want me? And I just started to come down hard on myself. Like, I had 3 close friends in college, and they ended up having to do an intervention with me because my drug of choice was alcohol. It's what I did to suppress. Now I'm okay, so don't nobody need to be like concerned.
You're okay now. You can have a glass of wine.
Don't need to be concerned. Right. But my drug of choice was alcohol. I would drink it every day. I would have my friends like meet me at the bar by school, and they were all for it at first. Like, okay, we're gonna turn up before class, and then they started to notice like she's not using this as fun. This is something she's using to cope with what she does not want to face. Like, she does not want to face her reality.
Oh my gosh. Listen, we got 15 minutes.
Okay.
So I need to know what changed. When did it change? Because we need to know, how did you bring yourself out of this relationship? I'm assuming you're not still in it.
Oh, hell no.
Okay.
No,
so
no.
When did you finally wake up? What changed?
So I think my changing point was I became very depressed. Like, it took me to fall to the bottom of the bottom. Yeah. And I was in bed every day just drinking. I didn't go to work. And then I tried to commit suicide. Like, that was going to be my outlet. Like, and it wasn't because, like, I had my children, I had my family. It wasn't because I didn't want to live. I just didn't want to live anymore the way that I was living. And I didn't know how to let him go. I didn't know how to get out of the situation. And so that was going to be my way out. And I sat at work one day. I rented a hotel room. Um, I went and got the biggest bottle of alcohol I could find with the biggest bottle of pills. And I went into that hotel room and I sat there and and I took those pills and I sent out a text to like all the people that I love and I told them like I love you guys, but I just can't. I can't anymore. Like it was a combination of things. It was not only the abuse that he put me through, but it was everything that I had been through since the age of 7. Right. That I felt like I just could not take it anymore. And I sent that mass text out. I cut my phone off. I took those pills. I drank the alcohol and I passed out. And like maybe 5 hours later, I woke up. And I was like, I'm still here. I'm still here. And I turned my phone back on and everybody was calling, everybody was texting, and they were like, please don't do this. Like, we love you. We got you. Like, you just have to be strong enough to let go. And that was my turning point. I've been raised in the church my entire life. So my faith is strong. And after that moment, I was like, God, there's a reason and there's a purpose for me. And I just got to wake up and I got to snap out of it. And I got to let this man go. Because if I don't let him go, it's going to be the death of me. And he going to go on and be with the next bitch. And I'm going to be in my coffin and my kids not going to have a mother. And my parents aren't going to have a daughter. And that gave me my wings. I had met my youngest son's dad, and he was a good friend at first. Like we weren't like he knew my situation, so we weren't like dealing with each other on a level of intimacy or boyfriend and girlfriend. And he was like, I just really want you to be better. Like you are a good woman, you are a good soul. Like I feel your energy. Like you are amazing. And he was like, I just want you to heal through this. And he helped me. He helped me. My best friend, Christina Joy, I know she's watching. She has been my rock. We have been best friends since 8th grade. She would come lay in the bed with me and be like, you gonna get up? She came to that hotel that night and was like, you don't know how much people love you. You don't know how many people came to your parents' house and was just there. Because nobody knew where I was. I didn't disclose my location, anything. And she was like, your friends, your family, like everybody came to your parents' house and was like, we won't stop until we find her. And that right there alone was like, Antionette, you gotta let him go. You gotta let him go. And even after that, he wouldn't let me let him go. It wasn't easy. Like I let him go, but he did not. He kept like he held me hostage in my house before. After that situation, like stabbing me in my neck with the screwdriver. And that day, I told him I was like, "You gonna have to kill me in here." And he was like, "What you mean? Like, why you won't fight me back?" Like he punched me in my face, stomped me with his boots. Like he did everything. And I was like, "I'm not gonna fight you back. Like you won. You either gonna have to kill me or I'm gonna walk out of here." And it took restraining orders. It took a lot. Like even with the restraining orders, he didn't care. He would come, he would break in, he would be sitting outside, he would be like, you got this on today, why you not at work? It was horrible. And to this day, we haven't been together in my youngest son is 8. We haven't been together in like 10 years. He still tries. Like, I want you to forgive me. And I was like, I've forgiven you. Because that's the only way I can heal and move forward. Like, I'm very much so. I started seeking help. Therapy is amazing. Like, I know most people feel like they don't need it. and I could just talk to my friends and I'll get through it, or I'll just suppress it. But you have to talk to somebody.
I'm glad you said that because getting help is so important. Having someone to talk to
Yep.
is vital when you're trying to really understand things about yourself that you can't understand on your own.
Yep.
You know, and so I'm glad you were able to do that. I'm glad that you are able to see and be a walking testimony that that day in that hotel room, God said, no, 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 Satan. No, you're not going to kill my daughter.
No.
No,
No.
sir.
No.
No.
Yes.
And that alone should have, that right there, I feel is the turning point for you. That is when I say, when did you transition? You transitioned in that moment because I believe God lit something up inside of you to let you know who you are
Exactly.
and who you're not,
Yep.
and who you are not going to continue to be anymore. This is it,
This
daughter.
is it.
This is
Yes.
it.
Yes.
The enemy has tried to take you and take things from you since you were 7 years old. And God continued to keep you. And
Exactly.
look at you now.
Look at me now, girl. I am living. I got my
Look
own
at you
pound.
now.
I I'm so excited about my life. Like, it is nothing nobody could tell me about who I am today and where I am today, because it's nothing but God. Let me tell
It's
you. If,
nothing.
if it was up to me, I wouldn't be here right now. But God said, girl, I got so much more for you to do. I have so much impact for you to have on this world.
That's
Me and
right.
my youngest son we were in a horrible car accident on Valentine's Day this year. And looking at my truck, like, nobody thought we should have walked out of there with no bruises. And I was like, no, my work here is not done. Like, I have so much impact and so much to give to the world. And this is only the beginning. Like, you don't
You
know how
know how
excited.
proud God is to hear you say that, honey. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. And you were
Like,
so right. That car accident again was what I told you in the beginning of this story. I said, God has some special children out here. I mean, a lot of us are his kids, right? But
yep,
some of us have a little bit more to do out here for him. Some
exactly.
of us, you know what I mean, are selected to do more work for the Lord.
Yes, ma'am.
And you are one of them.
Thank you. I'm a
You are
strong
one.
believer in that. Like, my book is going to be amazing. It's called Damaged, but it's going to be a part one and a part two.
Well,
Um,
listen, you are a part of the Trauma to Triumph project as well.
thank you.
And a part of your story, I'm gonna ask you to incorporate it into. We're gonna come up with this a Trauma to Triumph documentary book
Yep,
of like stories of like maybe like 20 different women, right?
yep.
And it'll be a chapter just reserved for you.
Thank you.
Um, and so I'm excited about your book. Any way that I can help push
Yes,
your
ma'am.
book, please make sure you let me know, because like I said in the beginning of this, my amazing husband and I, we do have a show called Spotlight Over the City.
Mhm.
It is an amazing platform for people to show their books, to show their singing voice, to talk about their business or their nonprofit or whatever it is. And so when you're ready, I have another platform for you to talk about that book.
Thank you. Thank
Okay. And we're going to do some amazing things together. But God has put it in my spirit tonight that, like I said, I've been doing these lives every Tuesday. And sometimes things strike me a little bit more than others for different reasons. But I feel like we're going to be able to do some really great things together. The, you know what I mean?
Yes,
And so
I feel the same way.
be ready.
Since I found your page, I was like, I love her. I don't even know her, but I'm like, I love her, and I watch every Tuesday, and
So
I'm just like, it's something about her. Like, I'm big on energy. I'm big on aura and
mhm.
spirits, and I'm just like, it's something about her energy that I really love. Like, it's
I
so
that when
Pressure.
you got on this thing, I was just like, she's me. I just can't say it like that just yet.
Yes.
Let me let her talk more. And
Yes.
then it all came out. So it's just all divine connections, honey. Just know that nothing is coincidence. I don't believe in that.
Period.
And like my daughter told me today, Mom, period.
Period.
I have three as well. I
Okay.
have two older daughters, 28 and 26, and a 14-year-old son,
Okay.
David. So, very similar patterns from a perspective of being our motherhood journeys.
Yes.
So at 37, I was a mom of three too.
Yes.
So I have really and thoroughly enjoyed this. We have laughed together, honey. We have shed some tears together.
Yes.
So we like family already now.
We are. I love it. Terry and Tony. It's divine destiny. I'm also
Yeah.
dropping a new business in the next 2 weeks. So I'm dropping my own coffee mug line, which
Yeah.
I am super excited about.
Yes. Okay. So listen, offline, I want to talk to you more about that.
Okay.
And when you get an opportunity, watch this live again because there were some questions, some really good questions. How many minutes we got? We got 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So there was a question on here that I pinned, and I thought it was a really good question. It was from, let me see. And it wasn't a question for you per se. I think one of your friends was on here. New Leafs said, why you never told me these stories?
That's my best friend brother.
Okay. the brother want to know why you ain't tell him so he can help do something about it. Why you ain't let me know so I can pull up.
Yeah. Your husband said, what's the brand? So the brand is called With Just One Word. That's the name of my coffee mug brand. And I'm going to drop it on my Instagram. I'm also going to do a storefront on Etsy. And so it's called With Just One Word because every mug, our signature collection is just one word. So some of the mugs say something. I'll share. One of them says strength, which I feel embodies everything that I am. And then we're going to do a black collection. We're going to have collections for the different holidays. So Halloween is coming up. I've been playing with some Halloween designs. So all of that will be dropping the end of August. I'm super excited about that. This is my first time talking on any platform, but I'll also be on a podcast next month. My cousin, he does a podcast, and so I'm going to be on his podcast. And then I'm looking to start my own podcast called
Yes, honey. Well, listen, like I told you, we are forever connected.
Yeah.
We've got more work to do for the Trauma to Triumph project. We've got to get more women to tell their stories, and some other things. I want us to think about some conferences and some brunches, all that kind of stuff. So let's put our minds together, and we'll do more great work together. And for those of you on here who want to know more about this project, go to my website, www.trauma2Triumph.com. So Trauma2Triumph.com is the website, and then email address is very much the same. It's info@trauma2Triumph.com. I appreciate all of you for tuning in tonight for another episode of Trauma to Triumph Tuesdays with my lovely, amazing Tony Marie. Listen, I'm so excited about tonight's episode. Okay,
it was destined.
It was. And I want you, like I said, when you have a chance, go back and look at the live feed, because I think when you're watching the live feed, it'll pop the comments up, and then maybe you can respond to some of them, because we did have at least 2 good questions, but we were so involved in our conversation, we sucked up the entire hour. So go back, and I'll post this. Everybody, it'll be posted on this Instagram, but it's also going to be posted on the Trauma to Triumph YouTube channel. Go subscribe, y'all, so you don't miss anything else. Go subscribe to the YouTube channel. Everybody, thank you all so much. I'm your girl, Terry Long. Next Tuesday, I'll be back at 8:30 with another amazing woman with an amazing story, y'all. I cannot wait. And I'll see you soon, okay? Get in my DM so we can continue our talks, okay?
Yes. Love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye, all.